Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aquarian Mind Podcast. Today's podcast episode number 176. I'm your host, Jamel Crothers. It's Wednesday Motivation and Inspiration, and today we're talking about falling and failing means strength and success. So, I know you guys are probably thinking, like, wait, what? Like, what in the world does that mean? But I'm going to break this down. I'm going to explain this all. So, I will start by saying don't fear failure. Embrace it. Because when you fall and or fail, it means that you'll gain strength and success. And the success, well, it's bound to come. Because I've fallen plenty of times, and don't get me wrong, I've wanted to stay down, but eventually got up, stood on my 2 feet again, and started to move on and keep going. Because I just want to prepare you. You will fall, you will fail, but it's part of the process. So allow it to strengthen you so you can succeed and achieve happiness. Because everything is a learning experience and a learning curve. Don't allow falling and failing to hinder your progress. I've learned some very valuable lessons in life, and especially in this journey of my podcast, the writing I do, all of it. And for me, I think that in the beginning of all this, when I was falling and failing, I was like, "Dag, like, is this not the right thing for me to be doing?" But then I had to learn that this was going to strengthen me, and it was going to allow me to learn things. So, if you guys have listened to previous podcasts, I've always said that you're always going to win or you're going to learn. You're not necessarily going to lose. And if you're losing, that means you're going to learn a lesson from it. And you're going to say, okay, well, how am I going to go about this? Am I going to improve? Am I going to get better? And if your answer is yes, then you're bound to succeed. And you're going to strengthen yourself as time goes on. You're not going to be down for long. You're not going to be weak forever. You know that if you want to succeed bad enough, you know that falling and failing is going to be part of that. And I know that I'm still going to do those things. And you guys, whatever you're working towards, you're going to fall and fail yourself. Even the biggest companies in the world, if you really think about it, they go through falling and failing also. Don't think that just because you see companies doing all of these advertisements and all that stuff that they're not going through trials and tribulations behind the scenes. So just look at your phone, whether you have an Android or an iPhone. You don't think those companies are going through certain things? That they're going through manufacturing problems or software issues or, security breaches or anything like that? They are. Doesn't necessarily get reported every single time on the news because, well, these companies want to make sure that you continually trust them and you continually use their products, right? So just think about it that way. And you guys know I'm good for the analogies, and you know that I'm going to use them in Wednesday Motivation Inspiration, especially on those days. So I know that, some of my Wednesday Motivation Inspiration podcasts, they aren't the most inspirational in the world or the most motivational. But for me, it's more of sharing my truth, but also utilizing analogies and utilizing other components to what life is and what it consists of. And I want to continually learn along the way. And I go through my range of emotions, and I've experienced a lot over the past few years, and not just with this journey of my writing, my podcast, things like that, even things in my personal life. And I've learned plenty of things this year in my personal life. I've learned a lot about myself and who I am and where I'm going and my journey. I've learned a lot about people, and some people aren't going to make it to next year. And then there's some that I definitely want to take with me to next year. And that's just life and how it goes. So don't be afraid to fall. Don't be afraid to fail. It's okay. You're going to make a bad investment sometimes. You're going to trust somebody with something that you're working on, and they may try to steal your idea or whatever, but originality is always going to win at the end of the day. And it's normal to fall and fail. It's not the end of the world. And you'll find joy and happiness in certain moments, and then you'll experience pain and sorrow through a lot of it. But just embrace the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. And trust me when I tell you, like, when you are consistent and disciplined, you're going to achieve greatness no matter what. No matter how long it takes. It takes a good amount of time to really build something that's special and that's going to last. Everyone says it takes like a good 10 years to build a solid foundation. That isn't the case for everyone. So I'll say somewhere between 6 to 10 years for you to really establish something that's really going to be worth it and that's going to have longevity. I always say, think about longevity and legacy. Think about a marathon. Don't think about the race and the immediate results. The problem with this world is we all see the finished product of a lot of things, whether it's musicians, whether it's companies that start and do great and do well. We're not seeing all of the things that a lot of people are going through. Now, music artists, not necessarily the big music artists, let's just say the lower end music artists that achieve success and don't go through the large major record labels to get to where they are. Let's just push that to the side. Let's utilize some of the smaller artists that aren't as well known as the big ones, and let's just use them for an example. You don't think that they have fallen on their butts and that they've failed and things of that nature? They have. Believe me. They got to where they are because they had to go through that. And there aren't many stories that you're going to know of with people who, become lawyers or doctors or businessmen or businesswomen or engineers or, own construction companies or, anything of that nature, where they have not gone through a process of where they have fallen, failed, and had to get up at some point and recalibrate their minds and recreate something or redo something or create something special. And that's the honest truth. And I try to find people who will inspire me, will motivate me in some way, but they've had failures in their lives and they're not afraid to be transparent in that. I made a $300 investment a few years ago on something for my books and a project, and it flopped. And I didn't get no ROI on that. And that basically means return on investment. To just put it in simpler terms, I just realized that saying ROI doesn't necessarily mean you guys all know what that means. But anyway, that's a big failure for me. That money is gone. Not gonna see that again. But when I sat back and reflected on it, I'm like, well, I'll get that back and more when all of this starts to take off and all of this starts to move forward and all of this starts to get to where I want it to be. So I can't worry about it. It's a lesson learned. And I got to be careful with certain investments that I make. I just invested $55 into something. No ROI on that either. That's money that's gone. That just is what it is sometimes. That's life. And that's how things go. So nothing's going to be pretty. And I'm just saying my investments. I can say my first book that I published was a big fat failure. Bad book cover, book was oversized, wasn't formatted the right way. All of that was just wrong in every way, shape, or form. I changed that book cover twice And now the book cover that you will see on the Struggles and Growth of a Man series, that's the third book cover of that. America, A Country Divided has two different book covers, the one that you see and the one that you don't. I have books that I've written that are not published, and I don't know if I will ever publish them. Not because I'm afraid of failing, but it just doesn't fit with what's going on in the world right now. It's not time yet. So I'd rather wait. I may rewrite some of these books, right? So embrace all of it. Be patient with yourself. Don't beat yourself up either, because that's just not going to make things any better. So whenever you fall and fail, think about this podcast and think, you know what? Mello told me this is going to strengthen me and it's going to bring me the success that I'm supposed to get. And then as you move on and you see people behind you coming up and they're going through their journey, you can tell them your failures and say, hey, this is what I did, be careful with this, and you're able to pass the torch, which is always my goal and what I'm always trying to do. So anyway, just wanted to drop some words of wisdom today as always. I thank you guys for listening to my podcast. I'm out of here. Enjoy your week. Be good, everyone, and go accomplish your goals.